Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on the newly released Civil 3D 2017 State Kit. If you haven't already downloaded it, please do and install. You can install it alongside of your 2016 installation. There is a handout that I have uploaded for this webinar. Please download that because it contains all the links necessary to download the state kit plus the items that I'm going to cover in the PowerPoint. So we have already out there a 2016 MR1 version and a 2017 initial release, and those were released on schedule October the 3rd. And today I'm going to show you what is included in it and what's new. And I know a lot of new users are on this webinar, so I'm going to show it like you've never seen a state kit before or Civil 3D and give you some help to help you out. Okay. The webinar will be recorded as always and posted. And if you have any questions, please ask. Staff inside the production support office is here to assist and answer any questions you may have. So all right. Reminder that the YouTube channel is still up and running, and this webinar will be posted to there. And here's a link on the page here that you can get if you download the PDF handout. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep current on any updates that we put out video-wise. And changes that have already happened, they happened after October 7th, which is we are now Production Support Office CAD. And the FDOT's website domain name changed from dot.state.fl.us to fdot.gov. Make it a little simpler. And when we released the state kit, we already had these new links in there, so they should be current and up to date. Okay, so what will I be covering in this session? I'm going to go over what the core enhancements are in Civil 3D 2017, the straight out of the box Civil 3D 2017 that is already on your system. I'm going to go over installation instructions and an overview of the installation folder applications, and go over the tools and applications that are in the state kit and adjust settings on first time startup. There's a little bit of startup in the traffic plans portion of the state kit. So let's start with the core enhancements that are in Civil 3D 2017. This is not the entire list. However, I included the pertinent ones that would affect the FDOT users out there. Okay. First one is we can now corridor data shortcut. We can data reference corridors, which is I like that one. That's my favorite one. So whereas in the 2016 and prior, you couldn't data shortcut a corridor or data shortcut feature lines. Now you can. There's advanced roundabout design in 2017. If you haven't seen the webinars that CAD Desk has done, I think they're up on the YouTube channel. You can watch a webinar on using the roundabout design features in 2017. You can extract corridor feature line workflow, like I was saying, corridor and feature line. You can have feature lines as corridor baselines now. The corner cleanup for corridors, as you can see an image there with a sidewalk going around with the curb and gutter, that is in there to eliminate some of the bow tie effects that you may have run across. So that's a lot cleaner now. And gives you a little, well, it gives you a lot more accuracy there. Another option is there is a no site option for feature lines. Typically on feature lines, when you're grading, you have to assign it a site. And sometimes there would be an error where the feature lines would overlap on different sites, and that would create a little nasty situation. But with the no site feature lines, that should eliminate that problem. We can now add property set data to labels. This may not affect you as much right now, but we will be looking into how to harness that ability going forward in the state kit, whereas we can add a lot more data to the entities that are in the drawing. The reference styles utility is new in 2017. And what that one is, let's say that you have a project, and of course the life cycle with a FDOT project is lengthy, and some changes have been made in central office here, and we've updated the FDOT master template file with new layers, new line types. You can now reference that new master template into your file, and all the changes are forced into your file. So instead of the old method of dragging and dropping or importing styles into your file, this is a easier way to force a lot of changes into your file, and your file will automatically update with the correct symbology. Property data to corridor solids is also an enhancement. And property set definitions. Now that sort of goes with the property set data. It encompasses, you know, a large range of enhancements there that we'll be working on, and like I said, hopefully it'll propagate down to the user. And in the survey portion of 2017, there's a traverse editor now that you can use to edit your traverse. You can also do an adjustment report, which was sorely missing, and that is a very good enhancement, especially on the survey requirements. You can now cache deref surfaces for sharing Civil 3D drawings more broadly, and there also are subfolders now for objects. So you can see from the picture there, you have centerline alignments, roadway centerlines, and then road A, road B, road C. So now it's a little bit more organized for your data, and you'll notice that will pay off from the get-go on a project. And there are now a streamlined creation of references. Now you can just simply drag and drop your data references, your data shortcuts. Instead of selecting right-click and then add reference, you can just drag and drop. So that enhances that, makes it quicker. And there's a link here if you want to get more information on the core enhancements. There are some videos and a little bit more detailed documentation of what I just mentioned if you want to go through that. All right, installation instructions. The state kit can only be installed on the same version of Civil 3D. An example being, you can only install the 2016 state kit on your existing Civil 3D 2016 installation, 2017 to 2017. And the AutoCAD only state kit can only be installed on an AutoCAD only installation. It won't install on a Civil 3D. So if you had a 2017 AutoCAD only state kit and you're trying to install it on a 2017 Civil 3D state kit, installation, don't do that. It won't install anyway, I don't believe, but AutoCAD to AutoCAD, Civil 3D to Civil 3D, same year, same version. Another thing, if you make modifications to your install folder and then uninstall the state kit, it will not delete those folders. So if, let's say that you have modified, we don't condone this, modify any template or any change that you make, it will not delete it. Also, you will need to reboot your system upon uninstall and install as prompted. And we've tried to cover all the installation issues in the README notes and the installation guide. And if all else fails, the person in our office that wrote the installer and supports that is Andrew Fuller, and here's his information here. You can contact him. But exhaust all of the suggestions first, and then if you still have an issue, give us a call. Okay? All right, installation folder applications. If you've had a previous state kit, you notice that the icons are a little different. They're a little more, they're pretty, right? This is okay. And the state kit shortcut is now green, C3D 2017. So we have new icons here, and notice that there is no PEDS application delivered with the 2017 state kit. And this seems to be a hot topic, so I thought I would include this PEDS notice in the handout, which you can download. It gives you some information on FDOT has sunset the PEDS and what is used instead and how to use those new options. So there's several links to other webinars and handouts and material that you can go through if you have a question on, my goodness, PEDS is missing, what do I do? So a couple of little news updates on the state kit before I get into actually showing you. There are 3 new sub-assemblies, the FDOT Sub-assembly pallets. One of the changes that is in the 2017 and the 2016 state kit is the CORRRD has been replaced by MODLRD. So your corridor road design file is now replaced by your model road design file. And as you run create file, you'll notice that difference. Turn drafting notifications off when doing traffic plans. I'll go over that shortly. What we discovered is that as you're labeling your signs, a little warning icon comes up. And if you cut off your drafting solution tips, this is from your options, that warning will go away. And this is only for traffic plans because you want to keep that on for every other design, which will warn you if your alignment or profile is out of standard. Okay? And there's nothing new concerning drainage parts yet. I know that some emails have come in with some of the parts not displaying properly or not looking correct. We're still waiting to see if the new parts editor comes out of beta from Autodesk before we dive into the process here. And I gotta say, I'm quite impressed with a lot of the workarounds that consultants and users have come back with and able to use the troubled parts and make them look correct. And there's also another trick you can use. Inside the state kit in the blocks folder, there is a file called DR Plan, which is drainage plan. It has all the blocks for all of the drainage structures, and you can substitute, like for a head wall or mitered end section, you can substitute that part for that particular block, and the block will be correct, and it's still a drainage part. It's still 3D. So for a visual, from a visual standpoint, that's a good trick. So I think that is all for PowerPoint. I think that's the longest PowerPoint I've ever had. So launching the state kit, you see you've got the little green icon here, and the 2016 is blue still. And you can see that there are the version numbers if you pin it to your taskbar. And for those that are new to Civil 3D, we have an FDOT ribbon. This is what the state kit installs. And we have, this is where all of our tools are. And if you get lost, as you can see, if I hover over a tool, it gives you a tool tip and a brief explanation of how each tool works. If you hit F1, it will take you to a help document. And from here, if you want to see the quick clip video, just go click on the video link, and the tool that you pressed F1 on is also highlighted here. So you can just click on it and watch the video. You can also go to our YouTube channel here if you want additional help. Okay, and Civil 3D has a lot of robust help too. So if you go to F1 here, it takes you to the Autodesk online help. And from here you can get educated, you can watch videos, you can help yourself by learning all you can through the Autodesk online help. I still use it, so it's very good. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm going to go through a couple of tools on the FDOT ribbon. The main tool that you're going to use, well, first let me go back here. When you first launch the state kit, you'll notice that you will get this notification, and this is not to be used on any FDOT design because it has no, very limited, has no styles, has no layers, and it's not meant to start working. And you know the people I'm talking about. I've seen them. They just start working, save this as, and keep going, and then all of a sudden, where are my styles? Well, that's why. And it gives you a nice message here to use the Create File application, which from here, depending on the design file that you're going to be creating, you can select the project here and the discipline and file group and make your selection. And the template that it will be reading from will probably be the FDOT master. There are a few that read other templates that are in the state kit, but mostly FDOT master. The consolidation method that we started doing is working really well with having all the styles, all the layers in one template. There's no performance issue with it at all. So after here, you would create your file, open, close, and then close your create file. Here I've already made an alignment file, and I've got a sample alignment in here. We're going to be doing some stuff on it. Let me go to FDOT Signs. Now, a lot of enhancements have been made on this between the last release cycle that we did with 2016 release, and I want to go over a couple of enhancements here. Mostly come from users like you, where they use a tool or an application and they have ideas or input that they want to see, or they find problems and they get back to us. And I'm going to say 99% of the time that gets added into the tools that we maintain in-house here. So any email, any input, good or bad, just send it on, and you're actually helping us make a better product for you to use. Okay, so when you get the state kit installed and you're going to be using FDOT Signs, there are some settings that you're going to have to change. And like I said, this will be recorded so you can come back and look at these screens here. This is how your setting should look on your user preferences when you get it. Now, once you set it once, you don't have to do it again. It'll remember it, but there is a little bit of setup as far as the block library file, change it to the appropriate install folder, in this case 2017, and toggle highlight assembly when selected, apply twist, show label, zoom factor. That's also new in here. You can control how far in and out your sign will zoom into the screen as you, so you had 100 signs in your drawing and you select one, it will zoom to it for you. Another new thing was the label placement, decimal places, sorry. Currently it's set at 2, you can change it to 0. Mostly the plans I've seen are set at 0, and you have an option of how you sort your assembly names in your pull down list. Okay, so this is the only user preference dialog. We've simplified the control of it, and I'll go ahead, I'm just going to do a little simple here to get to the label options that you will need to change. Behaves just like it did before, just go down top to bottom, select it, and then we're going to displace. Okay, on the labels, you'll need to make these changes. Currently, add shapes should be toggled on. Group label can be toggled on. Right now, it's turned off. And what that is just going to group the label with the sign panel itself. So there's a new option here. I'll show you what's new here. Arrow on or off. We now have a label style that you can drag left and a style that you can drag right, which that came from a user. Very, very good addition. You want to untoggle label pay item panel only. That's only used if you're making a panel only assembly. We have a label state button now for the panel and the post, and what that is, that will label such as existing to remain or relocated where it would not before. And so all of these, this is what your default is going to be set to. And again, once you make these changes, it will stick. So now I'm going to go back and forth a little bit on these tools here, but I want to encompass as much as I can to show you what each tool does here. So we have we're in model. We have UCS is going north, but you notice that the alignment is not running, what would that be, 90 in AutoCAD world. So we want to do the 2-point twist, and what that does is once I click on it, OSnap automatically comes on. It's got a nearest. So I'm just going to left click and then left click again along that alignment, and what that does, it rotates it to where it's running at 0. And what this does, it mimics having a sheet layout. So if you had your sheet layout and your view frames and you were looking at your sheet, this is how it would look in that sheet. But this gives you an option to label in model space. So let me throw a label here and a label here. So you can see how that's rotated correct. Well, I will untwist it shortly here and show you what happens. But I want to show you this label feature here right now. If it's toggled on, the arrow is on left, which means the arrow will remain on the left side, and I can drag the label off. Now let's untoggle that, and let's put down another label. Now I don't have to delete that label. I can just select, and then it will give me a warning. It's going to replace it. Do I want to continue? Yes. And it's asking me for a point, new point. And from here I can drag it to the left. So now you're not tied to always dragging it to the right and having to modify your drawing. Now you can pick or choose. And a lot of the new features will just overwrite like labels, so you don't have to erase and relabel. All right, so that's all I wanted to show on the line tool. Let's go to the multi-line, FDOT multi-line. Now let me untwist this. And untwist it, all you have to do is just untwist view, and it'll go back. And you see how the labels rotated? That's because it's a Civil 3D label style, and that style set for the rotation to orient to view. So it doesn't look right in model, but when you make your sheets, it'll rotate exactly like it did on that 2-point twist. Okay, so keep that in mind. You don't have to sit here and move these around. If you did, and you created your sheet, so you did a 2-point twist, it might be in the way of something else. So make sure you have your drawing set up, label correctly, and then go back to untwist it. All right, a couple of new things on the multi-line tool. We have the ability to erase an existing entity, and we have a offset from entity, like a buffer. So let's open up a pattern, and inside the state kit, when you install it, you'll get a new folder. It's called Multi-Line Patterns. It's within the Data folder, and these come straight out of the PPM exhibits. They are the typical sections. There's also FDOT curbs that you can use, and let's use a type F curb for right now. Let me open it up. As you can see here, the offset is 0, okay, which means if I select this alignment, that EOP is going to draw on top of that alignment and then offset from there. Now, there's several different ways you can draw your patterns here, and I'm going to show you an example of each. This is one of them. Here's where you'd come in and you would change your offset from entity. Let's say 24 feet. And since this is an alignment, we don't want to erase the alignment, but if you had a temporary line that you were just going to draw the curb on, at that point you would select erase existing entity. It behaves exactly like the Civil 3D erase entities when you convert objects to different objects, right? All right, so draw the multi-line, just click it over here. And what this tool is for is to expedite drawing your 2D graphics, right? Because even though we are going to 3D, and this is a 3D program, we still have to know what we're targeting and what we're designing. So if I hover over the pieces that were just drawn, they're each individual polylines. And in this instance, the pay item information is already attached to it. So I was able to draw the type F curve with the pay item already attached. And if you look at the subline patterns here, you can control the name of each line. You can browse to get the pay item number, and there's no limit to what you can add here as far as a subline pattern or pay item. Gives you the layer that is going on and of course the offset. Now you can create your own patterns. You can save them to reuse later, or you can take existing patterns here and modify them. And to modify them, just double click and the subline dialog box will come up. and you can add or subtract sublines. You can control by station range. You noticed I selected the alignment. The default, as in Civil 3D, is the entire length. You can either type it in or select it on the screen. And let's do another option here. Go to one of the exhibits. All right, on here you can see that the offset starts at 46, right? So what this is doing is I'm going to select the alignment, and I'm going to change this buffer to 0 because I want the center line to be out of alignment, and that's exactly what it's doing. And you're going to have to place both sides, right? Because this is just one side. So with let me go ahead and erase the curb. So with the alignment still selected and a 0 buffer, I can select draw multi-line. And now I can do it over here too. And as you can see, here's my curb and gutter. It's got the pay item on it. Here's my sidewalk. Now you will have to append the pay item information to that based on the thickness that it is going to be built. And you can do that through Entity Manager. You can also add striping. You can do a lot of very quick drawing here with this tool. So, as all AutoCAD and Civil 3D users, it's pretty much how fast can you do something, and how can I use this tool to be better. So hopefully you'll find a lot of uses for the multi-line. Let me close that. Let's go into pavement markings. There's been some changes here, specifically with the line type. Before, anybody that has used AutoCAD line types and traffic plans and striping know that issue with AutoCAD is it wants to start a line type on a stripe and it wants to end on a stripe. Okay, so it doesn't look right. So what we've done, let me use the regular line, the 1030 right now. And you can select any line, polyline, doesn't have to be in alignment. And I'm going to offset it 12 feet. Okay. Before, it would take and draw this line from beginning to end, and what happens is there is, at the beginning and end, it divides the difference and it applies it to both stripes here. But you can see here, this is exactly 1030 in the beginning and 1030 at the end. There's a little gap here at the end. However, it can't fit another pattern in there. So how do you get around that? Okay, handy trick here if you're using Entity Manager. And Entity Manager is used to place all of your entities, blocks, line work under the influence of the appropriate pay item data that can be used when you run quantity. So from beginning to end, there's tools here to use to have that data already on it, so when you get to the end, you don't catch surprises. But if I select the ID button here and click on that striping, hit enter, it'll automatically go to that category here, so you don't have to browse to it. So what I'm going to do, there's a new line type called a PM skip. Guess what? It starts on a skip. The PM stripe obviously starts on the stripe. That's what we used. So I have this one selected. If I just click here, let me snap to the end of that stripe, and let's see, 240. All right, 240. So I have a line type that I've tricked into thinking that it starts with a solid object, right? Because a line type, if you read through everything, you can't start an AutoCAD line type with a gap, but you can trick it. And that's what I did. So now we have a line type that starts with the skip and continues on. And the reason this is important, because on the quantities, the way they're calculated, they're the entire length, right? So if you, let's say you drew the old way where it looked right, you would have a gap, you know, all over. I don't know how many gaps you would have, but it wouldn't add up to 100% correct. So this will now. So that's for those that are, I know you're out there oohing and ahhing now if you've used the pavement marking tool before. Another tool here, I don't know if y'all use this or not, a length calculator. You can get a quick and dirty measurement of, let's say, the striping. Select it. Gives you a linear foot, and of course, striping, this I think is calculated in miles. You can convert it to miles real quick. So you can get a just an easy way to check distances, and you can do this with any entity, right? So you can keep selecting. Let's say I select that too. Now I have both. And as you see, as I go back and forth, they highlight whichever one that I'm looking at on the screen. Now this tool's been in here a while. I don't know how many people use this or not, or now that you see how you can use it, you can find a way to use it to your advantage. Okay, so let me close Entity Manager and multi-line. Let's go to our palettes and let's see what's new on those. Now with the palettes turned on, you notice that there's a FDOT Civil Blocks, FDOT Sub-assemblies, FDOT Structures, and FDOT Traffic. Okay, the default when you open a state kit is FDOT Assemblies. Now FDOT Assemblies can be used as they are, and they can also be used with the Civil 3D Imperial Sub-assemblies. And a lot of times we will say, all right, use our sub-assembly here, then go back and you can use the out-of-the-box sub-assembly, because it would do the same thing that if we wrote one would do. So again, trying to be efficient. So we do recommend using both, depending on your situation. But if you have any questions on the sub-assemblies, you can just right-click, go to Help, and a robust help document will come up. It will refer to the design standard index number that it is designed off of. It will give you all the parameters, how it's used, what you can target with it. And you know, when we added this in, a lot of calls minimized because they went through the help documentation, and it just helped them tremendously. So again, if you're not familiar or not using or new, this is a very good reference for each subassembly. Even has a coding diagram, how it's going to be drawn, what's going to be assigned to it as far as points and shape codes. And like I said, each one has its own help document. Now let's go to FDOT Civil Blocks. You can tell a dynamic block by the lightning bolt displayed next to it. And that means it has several actions or parameters that are attached to it. And let me click on the tapered turn lane, use as an example here. First off, there's an alignment action to it. As you can see, if I just hover over some line work, it's going to align it to that rotation. Depending on where I place the cursor, it's going to rotate to where it's going to put it. So let me just, I'll just snap here to the end here. Now what this does, if you click on it, it's a block, but it has, as you can see, a lot more grips to it than an ordinary block. Now I can right click and go to just regular properties if you want to see the custom properties with it. There's also a different looking grip here that you can pull down, and right now the default is set at lane taper only. So if I go change it to curb return, no sidewalk, you can see my options here change, and from here I can enter in, oh, it's my taper length, all right. I can change the tangent length, I can change the curb radius, and this is again another neat tool that you can use to lay out your geometry, and you can use it in conjunction with the multi-line tool. Okay, so there's a lot of time-saving tools and techniques in the state kit to utilize. Now, let's see, there's 4 options here. If I go and let's click it with sidewalk, you see another custom property comes up, and this time it's the sidewalk width, which is default set at 5, but you can change it, and it behaves the same way. Okay, and no curb return with the sidewalk too. So there's several different options here you can use. And the curb and gutter, you may say, well, I can draw the curb and gutter with a multi-line. Well, this gives you another option too. Still a block. It has your type FE drop curb, type A, type B curb. Okay, so if you change it to type E, it's a block. You can't see anything here. It's on the right layer, right symbology. And it has the designated pay item number that goes with that curb. Erase these and show you one more on the traffic, FDOT traffic. There are new mast arm assemblies here. This is for signalization design. And on the assemblies, they're dynamic. Of course, the mast arms, they're just the typical blocks. But let me bring in a mast arm pole, 150. Before, you had the block, which was the pole itself and then the mast arm. So you had a 2-part process to create this assembly. You had to bring in the pole, rotate it, then you had to bring in the mast arm that goes with that pole and rotate it, and I mean there was a lot of steps. So I've also added a alignment feature here, so it will align to whatever angle you want, or you can just rotate it. When I click on it, you can see that I still have all the options that go with it, and in this case we're each pay item number that goes with that particular assembly. So all you got to do is go browse down, pick the appropriate one. If you notice that the size changed, the pay item number changed, and the 2-arm does the same way. You got the alignment, and with here, same options. You can change the poles. This is every conceivable option that you could do it within Entity Manager. I just combine it into a block format here with the appropriate pay item number, and you can also rotate or mirror or flip based on which quadrant of the intersection that you want to use. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a huge time saver for everybody. And I think all I have is my little dynamic blocks in here, plus a sign. One of the enhancements on the Takeoff Manager is it will now read dynamic blocks. So if I run a takeoff, should pick it up. And this will eliminate the need to explode these blocks, where if you explode them, it will take away the dynamic ability. And the only one that you may have to explode are the dynamic civil blocks. Once you get the geometry set the way you want it, you may have to explode them. And set your option, your visibility state, which is that pull down, and because it will explode in whatever visibility state that you have, and I'll be more clear about that in a second. But as you can see here, it pulls up all the dynamic blocks without exploding them. And when I say visibility state, this grip here. So if I exploded this right now, it would just take this right here only, okay, with this pay item number. Okay, well, that is the main part of what is new in the state kit. Of course, there were tweaks and enhancements with blocks and the templates and the layers and the new standards that have come out. And if you need any additional help or resources, click on the links and contacts on the ribbon. And here's links to design standards, PPM, different sites that you would need doing FDOT work. And you also have links to events and presentations and other downloads and other materials that you may find handy with not only learning Civil 3D from a standpoint, but learning the state kit, because we do have links to the standard AutoCAD material. Thank you for attending.